G'day, it's been a while since I've done any videos, so I thought I'd do a quick shop update. So I'll go through some of the recent projects and developments in the shop and talk about future projects and where this channel is going. I've finally got a surface plate. So we have 3 micron maximum deviation. Looks like it's high all around the centre, so I might try and wear these areas down. Don't know, maybe it's not worth it. That's more accurate than anything I'm ever going to do at the moment. I'm going to scrape my mill table and also my riser block build. I'm going to use this as a reference surface in order to get everything square and parallel, or as best as I can get it. There'll be other projects around this: straight edge, height gauge. I've reconfigured my old fireplace. It was horizontal, then it became a rocket heater. The rocket heater wasn't so successful because the burn chamber was too small in it. And then it became this. So this will keep me going through the winter. Finally found a use for wood in the metal shop. My old bench has returned again. It's become a new electronics setup. There'll be some interesting projects coming where there'll be electronics used, so I aim to get this a bit better set up. Speaking of electronics, my mill has just gotten a bit fancier. I'm now the proud owner of a very expensive calculator. Me! So I haven't finished mounting all the cables yet. Still early stages. I've only got the X and the Y put on at this stage. Had to get a bit fancy with some bracketing. I've also used the existing T slot here to mount this. I don't like putting extra holes in my machine if I can help it. I'm a little bit embarrassed to show this. I had an end mill that walked sideways on me and I need to tidy up this surface a bit better. For this Hercus mill, I was very surprised. All these surfaces are almost perfect. It's within the recommended specification as mounting straight on this painted surface. Some of you will cringe at mounting on the paint.
You want to mount it rigid and you put paint on the mounting surface. And
yes, I'm going to put covers on these. No longer need to count dials. I've got an issue with the Y-axis at this stage. It's temperature dependent. It only works when it's warm, so something's not quite lining up in the scale, but I'll fix that. I'm almost ready to start filming upgrades on the mill. So I'm going to put a power feed on it and a square column riser block to jack this mill up 100 mil or so. Quick change gearbox still going well. I haven't made any modifications to it yet. I have to do some minor upgrades, but they're not critical at this stage. So I've really started to try and get organised in the shop. So I've got all my milling Morse taper tools arranged in this rack. There's 2 layers that support each taper. It's covered in polycarbonate in both layers. I'm not a fan of tapers resting on wood because if the wood gets some moisture in it or some sort of abrasive particle, it could damage your taper storing it in there. So this is my solution. I've started to get weirdly specific with tool storage in order to have quick access. I'm going to reorganise these spanners so they're set up the same as my collet spanner. So it's just a quick grab and run. Getting really fancy in the shop. CNC Router. I'm going to organise all my tools in my drawers and on my walls, and I'm going to get into the whole lean thing and have a place for everything. I'm going to try and set this up to work on steel. So the router runs too fast, so I'm going to try and adapt the gearbox of a drill in order to slow this down. We'll see how that goes. So I like my vise so much, some would say I even put it on a pedestal. So the base is screwed in with these anchor screws. These are removable and can be reinstalled, and the vise can be moved if needed. So these are just self-tapping. I only discovered these about a year ago. They're a great product. So I can unscrew these really easily and move this around if I decide this isn't a good spot for it. So I've gone away from having this on a bench. The problem is you use your tools and then you put down a file, you put down your hammer, and stuff starts growing from there, and eventually your bench just becomes a mess. I mean, it does anyway. By not having anywhere to put stuff, this controls it a bit better. So I've finally come to appreciate Carbide as being really useful on my machines. These are designed for a face mill, and I might have been stupid one day and crashed my face mill. The inserts held up no problem. Same with the lathe tools, TCMT inserts. These are from Alibaba. I took a risk, cheap, but these are actually awesome quality straight from the supplier. A tip for any Australians or anyone else on Alibaba. Us Australians, we're a little bit vague in the way we talk. With the nationality you're dealing with Alibaba, you've got to be a lot more direct. I've had a few orders that haven't been right. So if we open up the secret project book, we've got a fair bit on the go and a lot planned for the future. So a few that you already know about, the riser block, which will jack my mill up by about 100 mil. All mating surfaces will be parallel to 10 microns is the plan. Likely I'm going to have to scrape it. Scraping steel, yay. There's also the power feed, which will be Arduino controlled. So that's going to allow it to bounce between limit switches and program it to do whatever. I'm not going full CNC with the mill though. I'm also putting a coolant pump, which will be shared between the lathe and the mill. And there'll be a lot of general workshop organisation with the CNC router making really specific tool holding. Let me know if you want to see more of that. And I'm also going to scrape the mill and the lathe, as I mentioned earlier. So longer term projects, I'm going to make a tool and cutter grinder. I'm also going to make a belt grinder. And long term, I'm going to make a slotting head for the mill and maybe a quill feed for the mill. So you might have noticed the channel's been changing a little bit. So my plan is to go into a bit more explanation in my project and a bit more detail, but still keep it fast-paced and fun. So I think that's about it for this video. I should be getting a few more videos out pretty soon. So until then, guys. So these are designed for a Facebook. These are designed for a face mill in order to have quick access. Only on camera, never done that in real life.